hooked. And I wanted to do my own exchange because I thought that they weren't innovating enough on their platform. So I thought I could build a better platform than them. And then I found my other two co-founders, Sam Reed and Ben Dilo, and we created BitMEX starting in early 2014.
So how did it go at the time, and how did the industry change for you within so many 10 years already?
Yeah, so when I started, MTGOX basically went bust in early 2014, and then it was the worst time to start an exchange. Nobody wanted to fund an exchange. Everybody thought that the exchange owners were scamming people. So we were very focused on security of customers' Bitcoin, and that was sort of the big ethos at the time. Obviously, the derivatives market took off. After about a few years of us being in operation, we created the perpetual swap in 2016, which has become the largest, most traded product in crypto out of anything, trillions of dollars a year. Every major exchange has it. And now I've gotten into sort of like the altcoin game and doing that sort of thing and tokens. And so I guess I've had many life cycles within the crypto ecosystem, especially when you think about how it's traded.
And as well, do you currently actively trade crypto, or you mostly do value investing for the long term, different DeFi stuff?
I don't know if I call it value investing. I have a client base. That's not what we're focused on. We want to see what are the real retail applications. How do we give more people access to finance?
Because you mentioned that you're not really focused on consumer applications rather than.
But I guess in DeFi, you have millions of customers like Uniswap, right? One of the most used DeFi apps makes, I don't know, like $2 billion in fees every year. We want to find things like Uniswap and invest in those.
So what are your criteria of when evaluating projects, whether to invest into this or that project?
First thing is price. So we have an internal maximum fully diluted valuation, FDV, that we'll pay for any project. It's very, very low. So we get in very, very early, but we're taking a lot of risks. Founders could not execute and the token could never happen. So that's the first thing, is being very disciplined on the price that we pay for something. And then we want to know, what's the narrative? What's the easily digestible thing that we can talk about this project that somebody on the street can understand what we're doing, and so that they can invest in it, and obviously the thing can go up in price. So I think those are probably the two main things that we're looking for. And then Akshat, he runs the actual investment team. They're looking at the quality of the team, and so the population has gravitated to using a crypto solution.
So do you generally use quite a lot crypto payments, and do you pay more in crypto? And do you generally use fiat now or only crypto?
I mean, obviously over here in Asia Pacific, I use mostly fiat. And obviously I want to spend fiat and save crypto as much as I can. But where it makes sense, like places like Argentina, where, using a credit card or a bank wire isn't going to work, I use crypto.
And how do you generally see the development of crypto payments, maybe within the next 5-10 years?
I think it needs to get easier. It's still too hard for most people. They don't like remembering long passwords and stuff like that. I think it really will depend on how we bring culture on chain. So how do we make it so that somebody wants to learn about crypto? Maybe it's meme coins, maybe it's an NFT, maybe it's their favorite, creator has launched their own coin. So they're a fan, they're gonna, figure out how to use a wallet and get it that way.
And you personally invest as well into a lot of meme coins. So why do you like meme coins? Is it just from the profit?
Also, I believe that, reducing the differential between dollar rate and the yen rate will cause the yen to strengthen. We saw the yen carry trade unwind a few months ago in late July, early August, and with that impact on financial markets, as the Fed cuts rates, yen strengthens. That's negative for financial markets. So we'll see this weekend what happens. I think Bitcoin's traded quite strong. It's like 63,000 or something. 64. There we go. But I think we'll see what happens over the weekend. Can Bitcoin maintain these gains, or is the market going to switch its thinking on whether or not a Fed in a cutting cycle, given the level of government spending, given the level of inflation, it's above their 2% target. We'll see. I don't know.
And you mentioned that bond yields are rising now because of the inflation. So do you think people will prefer to see those developments, especially since you started as ETF trader in traditional banks?
I think a lot of the ETF flows were driven by hedge funds like Millennium, who are putting on a basis trade. So they buy the ETF and they sell the futures contract on the CME. We'll see if their holdings change in the next disclosures, and I think it's a 13F by the SEC, and whether or not these funds have decreased their exposure because the basis or the interest rate has gone down on these trades. and that will reveal what the true demand is for these products. I think it's TBD right now, but over time, as a marketing machine kicks in for BlackRock and these large financial institutions and getting the RIAs out there pitching this stuff, you'll see more inflows, but it's just going to take longer than people think.
And do you think there will be other ETFs for other assets, like for example for Solana or any other big coins?
As the banks make fees, they're going to do as much of this as they can. So I think there'll be an ETF in as many cryptos as possible.
Will there be like meme coin index ETF or something like that?
Maybe, why not?
Okay. As well, can you tell about your investment?
Like a software. So if he ever is in doubt of like, oh shit, I need to repay these bonds, and yes, he'll dump Bitcoin, but I don't think that we're anywhere close to that.
And you talked a lot as well about hyperinflation and that we see inflation in the US and cut of the interest rates and money printing, and then just all other countries are watching the US and follow it. And we see on the other hand some countries, as for example El Salvador, adopting Bitcoin as their official currency and as well buying more Bitcoin on the government's balance sheet, I would say. What do you think about the approach?
I think it's interesting that a developing country like El Salvador has sort of broken away from the traditional advice that they're given on how to manage their country and gone with this Bitcoin approach. And so it's given an idea to other countries, hey, you don't have to follow what the IMF and the World Bank tell you. Here's an example of doing something different. Maybe it's better for your population not to follow these rules. So I think it's great.
And do you think that we will see in the future more countries adopting Bitcoin as official currency?
I think we'll see more sort of like less wealthy countries doing it because they've seen that over.
And as well, do you have any price predictions for Bitcoin all-time highs this cycle?
I believe we can get to $1 million end of the cycle.
80 million?
$1 million. By the end of 2024, I think we'll be at $100,000 for Bitcoin.
So you mean like 1 million by 2027?
Something around there, yeah.
So why do you believe that we can see like over 10x?
Because the amount of money that's going to be printed is going to be absolutely insane, as every government around the world does the same thing, which is print money to make my people feel happy because the global growth is slowing.
But last cycle, we didn't really see such big growth. It was like probably from the dump in 2020, the Black Swan event, from like $4,000 to just 69 or something. So why do you believe that we will see such a big returns on Bitcoin now, when especially the market cap of Bitcoin is much higher?
I think that we're in a transition period of a global financial system. We're going to change it. The elites will resist the change.
For the mass adoption of crypto.
Culture. So we need things like ordinals, we need things like NFTs, we need celebrities launching meme coins. That's how the average person gets into crypto.
And you're quite big on ordinals, inscriptions, Bitcoin ecosystem. So why are you bullish on it? Why do you see the value in ordinals?
Because it's actually on-chain. It's a scarce digital artifact, as opposed to most NFTs on, say, Ethereum, for that matter, because they're just pointing to a database that's centralized. So that's why I like ordinals. It speaks to the Bitcoin ethos, and it's the biggest ecosystem on which to launch something.
So do you think as well different Bitcoin ledgers have a chance to take off?
For sure. Bitcoin and DeFi, we're invested in Meso, which is another protocol trying to launch their own L2 to do DeFi and Bitcoin, so I'm bullish on it.
And do you think Bitcoin L2s may overcome Ethereum or other chains?
We'll see. We'll have to see what the actual implementations are, what's the appetite, what types of products that they're listing, but it definitely has the opportunity. Bitcoin's a much larger asset.
And can you share as well some other altcoins in your portfolio besides?
To transact on the network has come down a lot as well.
And as well, like maybe in 10 years time frame, do you think other chain?
I don't know. That's why you have multiple bets. I have no idea. I think, again, it's probabilistically, it's very hard to defeat Ethereum. Is it impossible? No.
And talking about DeFi platforms, do you use a lot currently?
I definitely use more. What do I use? More for payments, sending stuff, earning yield on Athena, the USDE. That's probably the most used DeFi thing that I have.
So why do you think it's more beneficial to just like hold your assets and earn the yield rather than invest into some other altcoins?
Yeah, well, for a certain part of my portfolio where I want to earn high dollar yields, some of these protocols made sense. If I want to trade something, then I can go on, a Uniswap or DYDX or Drift or one of these things.
And how do you see the industry in the next 5 years?
Bigger.
That's obvious.
Yeah. I don't think it's that obvious to some.